A lot of times when we hear the term mental illness, we tend to think of it in its most severe form or state of being, as if it's always something that is visible, noticeable, or obvious to the naked eye. The truth of the matter is, those of us who think this way is wrong. Just because you can't see it doesn't mean that people don't feel it. And just because you may not be able to identify it within yourself doesn't mean that it does not exist. So did you know that 47.6 million adults in the U.S. experience mental illness at any given time? That's 18% of the U.S. adult population. What about that last year alone, 60% of adults with a mental health ailment received no mental health services for it, and 2 out of every 3 children with a diagnosable mental health ailment received no treatment at all. Overall, 1 in 5 persons in the U.S. is battling a mental health ailment. That's about 1.5 billion people, y'all. This includes everything from anxiety to depression to addiction and substance abuse, post-traumatic stress disorder, commonly referred to as PTSD, and one of the most deadliest mental ailments of them all, suicidal thoughts. And that's just to name a few. Look, the sad truth is, mental illness is more common than we think. In fact, depression and anxiety disorders are among the most common mental illnesses in America, with 42.5 million adults battling anxiety and 17.3 million combating depression. And this is just those of us that's been diagnosed. The numbers concerning our youth are staggering as well, with 1 in 6 between the ages of 6 and 17 experiencing some form of mental health condition. The percentage of our youth with major depression alone, ages 12 through 17, is 13%. That's 3.1 million kids. It's serious, y'all. And our women actually experience depression at twice the rate of men. That's 12 million women on average battling depression each year. And with 1 in 30 adults experiencing complications from PTSD and 2.4 million, or over 1% of the adult population mentally strained from schizophrenia, it didn't surprise me to learn that suicide is the 3rd leading cause of death in the United States. There are approximately 9.8 million adults across the country battling suicidal thoughts, and 90% of those who do die by suicide have an underlying mental illness. It's not a game. And before we go any further, let's just debunk this myth that mental health disorders is only a white people problem. Black, brown, and yellow people are just as likely to suffer from mental health ailments as any other human being. So it doesn't matter if you identify as Black, African American, Latinx, Hispanic, Native American, Alaska Native, multiracial, Caucasian, or white. The human brain, period, serves the same function in all of humanity. In this way, we are significantly more alike than we are different. Now, do I know and understand that as Black and brown citizens of the United States, we may be less likely to be accounted for when it comes to mental health diagnoses? Of course I do. Realistically, a large demographic of our population is lacking sufficient health insurance coverage to begin with, directly leading to the lack of meaningful mental health care services altogether. Not only that, but for people in color in particular, there is a stifling stigma associated with acknowledging that our mental health has been compromised. I know firsthand that where I come from, seldomly are we taught about mental health disorders and the symptoms thereof. Also, we are taught that to be tough-minded is to be mentally infallible, and anything to the contrary is a weakness not to be discussed or divulged either by word or action. And yes, over time we become good at masking our mental struggles and developing coping mechanisms to help deal with them and get by. Now, I'm not saying that all hard times are accompanied by a mental illness disorder. I know firsthand how powerful the mind is, and I'm a firm believer in mind over matter. I'm simply telling you here today that it is okay to feel unstable. It's only natural. It is okay to need help, and it is okay not to feel okay. Acknowledging your mental struggles is not a failure. It is a chance for self-improvement and corrective measures. Seeking help is a sign of strength, not a weakness. Speaking up, speaking out, and getting help takes courage. So for anyone listening out there, if you are going through or have ever experienced a mental illness or disorder, you should not hide your emotional pain and refrain from talking about it. There is truth in your pain, there is growth in your pain, but first you must bring it out into the open. Please don't be ashamed of your story. It will inspire others, I promise. One small crack to your armor does not mean that you are broken. It only means that you were put to the test and you didn't fall apart. Your trials and tribulations actually makes you a warrior whose story could help the next person in their own mental health struggles. So be brave and let your light shine. And stay tuned, because part 2 of Intelligent Swag on mental health focuses on improving and maintaining a healthy mental. But in the meantime, love yourself and others, because in these times especially, love and need a love.